Broadcasting live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report, coming to you live on the backstretch of Saratoga Race Course. And I guess you couldn't produce it any better than to have a horse running right behind you as you open up the 2024 season. We're on the backstretch at Clare Court. I'm joined by Seth Merrow. Seth, good morning. Happy 81st day in a row. And if your bingo card had Seth and Anthony will both be wearing a pink striped shirt, you win.
That was fortuitous. That
was coming live and
perfect
zoom,
timing.
right there.
Well, so far when we've been here, Clare Court hasn't been open. I almost texted them because we were remarking horses have been training up here for a while, and I didn't realize Clare Court doesn't open until really it was yesterday. Maybe it was the first day it was Harrowed, but I almost texted you because I was in here on Monday and the water truck went by. So I thought, well, that's a good sign.
We're working towards it.
But yeah, they're out there this morning. And that means, of course, now on my drive in, I can expect to get stopped by horses up coming over from the harness track and coming in.
They let me through. I was the last one through. I was, it's one of the funny things is that I have been coming here since like the Nixon administration, but I probably haven't come in 10 times in my life on Union Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I am 13N Nelson Avenue practically every single day of my life. I mean, so
I used to come in as a crescent that comes right into the corner. That was a great way to come in because you'd see the horses working on the main track, and then I just get stuck in the other direction. There was the one morning I had to park at.
Was it the American Pharaoh morning? That was the run-in, barely made the show day. That's when I knew you were in trouble because I tend to be the early one, and I was down at the the lodge.
I think I ran in that day just because I was walking up the backstretch looking at people.
I come in where the lodge is, and it was 8:10. And I was already stopped. I'm like, oh, Seth is going to be up against it. It was
because I was walking up the backstretch. It was like 5 deep. That day was
very
wild.
Singular.
That was wild.
Very singular. So this is day 81 in a row for Mr. Seth and I. If it hadn't been for Arlington Park's closing, we might be near 100 days in a row. But first off, we're off the turf today. We'll, just to let you know, we're off the turf. It's a pleasant morning. It's breezy. So I would think if we don't receive more rain, we'll be okay. I mean, one of the great things about this sport is moving and grooving. We'll get the scratches later. We'll play the first handicap, who will stay in and who will come out. I believe it's race 2 will be shortened up to 1.25 miles from its 11 furlongs, and the other 2 races will be at 1 mile. So, but Seth, I finally last night, I got finished with Saturday's card late or early, depending on how you look at it. And I said to myself, I am going to dig one out. And here it is. We have talked about it to the young people in the audience, but this is what Seth and I talk about from time to time. First off, up until opening day 93, it was a broadsheet. And during the Saratoga meet,
that's a good one, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had others, but I did select this one. So this came out. It's dated Friday, August 5th. But at the top, during Saratoga, you got the PPs a day ahead of time. Now you get them like 16 days ahead of time.
The advanced edition.
Advanced edition.
And when those started to come out, that was, it's hard to believe now because we get the PPs.
Well,
some tracks you can get them a week ahead.
Oh,
this was like
Fairgrounds
a day ahead.
In the clubhouse.
You were in heaven.
And I've told this story before. So Monday night, Tuesday morning, there was an all-night newsstand in Troy. Night Owl News. It had to be open, I don't know, at least 10 years, 15 years. And I'd be down there. The gentleman hadn't even unbundled it yet. And I'm like, can I get my racing form? So Seth and I talked.
Is there a price on there?
Yeah, $250. When I started getting the form each day, this about 8 years before this, it was either $1.50 or $1.75. So I used to put the quarters or in the console. So like every 7th day, I take the quarters into the store, the convenience store, and trade it in for that day's daily race. Go ahead. No.
What tracks are in that edition?
Now this is good question. Saratoga, Monmouth, Philadelphia, Atlantic City, and Calder. 2 of the 3 are gone.
2 are gone, and 1 is renamed.
But and as Seth mentioned, what's funny about this, Seth, is the headline and the picture below the fold is Gulch. And just for the young whippersnappers out there, Personal Ensign was in the race. That was the time she took on the boys. And
you got a Peb cartoon on the back page. And
on Tuesday, I'm going to be 61 years of age. And there are times when I try and slow down, being the old man, get off the lawn. And trust me, this is infinitely better. Infinitely. Seth was mentioning the other day, when you carried around the form, you left the track, and right about here was shades of black, graphite, and light gray just spewed. And one of the great things, and my wife probably wishes I had this habit, was people threw out the form on their way out. I was like, who does that? So the number, and
I used to say that all the time to people, and now it's a different format, and you can pull stuff up online and whatnot, or you have it in a folder digitally, the previous. So it's not so much of a thing, but I used to think the same thing, and not so much holding on to it for the sentimental value, but the handicapping value. I'd go home at night. Now you know who the winner of the race is. Go back and reverse engineer a little bit, and I'll still recommend that to people.
Absolutely,
it helps
you can always mine information.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what race replays is, and all that stuff is. What we do is, our opinions about looking forward, but we spend the vast majority of our time looking backward. I mean, you do that, you come out with this, but it's such a great day. I mean, it's such a great institution.
Twitter this morning had the running for the tables.
Yes, that's 7 o'clock.
They had a line. Some people had a picture of the line that was out on Union Avenue, and they were ready.
What I've wondered is, and you're a man of the people, like if they're here at 7, they have 6 hours and 10 minutes.
I think a lot of people put the cloth on the table and
they leave
out until
That's what I figured you had to do. I mean, there's probably
there still is the racetrack cordiality, if that's a word. People respect if the tablecloth is on the table. So
I wouldn't try that move on Travers Day. Maybe today would be okay with Travers.
The
purple one will be out there somewhere.
I think the purple one will be. I think there's usually 3 purples.
There are 3 triangulation. They get like a fortress going, little moat around it. Only invited guests. Do we lower the bridge?
And I wonder if there'll be invited guests to the paddock show this year, because I've noticed NYRA has reconfigured their set out by the paddock, and they're out more close. They're closer to the big red spring now. So it's a different. I'm guessing they wanted a different angle, maybe.
Sun, maybe, or something.
Could be, yeah.
So we'll see. It's going to be outstanding. I mean, it's it's glorious out right now. I don't know what to tell you, but it's it's that old line I like to use about 6 times a year. Let's run the races now. I mean, it's beautiful.
I mean, I wonder if this was like day 35 if we'd be running on it. I think day 1, because I don't know how much it rained last night. I mean, at my place it wasn't crazy
either. But I'll tell you, a long time ago.
But again, day 1,
more than 20 years ago, probably more than 25 years ago, I just decided, not so much for my sanity, but really for efficiency. It's like, I'm not handicapping the weather. I like to have fun with guessing who's staying in and staying out, because that's entertaining to me. But it's like, we're going to get the scratches and we're going to run the races and we're going to figure it out. That'll be all in due time. But, obviously, if we're doing a television show on horse racing, it's, one of the great days annually of my life. I mean, it's the memories that I have, starting with having a full head of brown hair, coming here with, friends and family and, then eventually coming with Denise, my wife, and then with our son, young Anthony. I mean, it's been the one constant in my life. And it's, we used to call this New Year's Day when we were young guys. I would have been out in Saratoga till about 2:00 in the morning, gone home, which is not close as Seth is nowadays, and just teed it back up. But you can do that at 21 years of age.
In the day,
not at 61.
had they still had, back in my day, if it had been a Thursday open, I would have been Rafters on Wednesday night.
Yes. Ooh,
dollar specials at the Rafters, and then Spa City Diner, and then maybe right back. I might not even have had to go home after that.
Jesus. Anybody look at Seth's car? I'm going to figure out how that works. Jesus. Seth is
Got to be ready for anything.
Seth is the social calendar of
used to be.
duo
I mean,
now.
I still try to get out a little bit.
Yeah. So, but a great day. It's probably late to plan, but I guess there are people in the lives. If you have a free time this afternoon, I would come up to the racetrack.
Yeah.
40 days now through Labor Day, closed Monday and Tuesday. Something we didn't have in our youth. And I've told people, when Mark Usano and Mike Veach used to be with us, I was clamoring for the 5-day a week about 30 years ago. And I had certain people tell me it would never happen. I was like, and that's even before I started doing this. Doing this 5 days a week is a godsend.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, people don't.
I will admit, I liked Monday. Monday for me, I was done with my week.
So you're one of those
go over
Wednesdays.
Yeah. Well, no, I like that 6th day, I guess, being Monday.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I have no problem now with the 5 days because you're right. Doing what we do, the 2 days is certainly.
You legit. I've said it before. If you cut out on Sunday, and now the other thing is, I remember this happened years ago. Our son will be 18 soon. He was about 3. I went to Maine during the meet, the first time I ever left, right? But with digital and the world, it's like you don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Compared to the 80s and 90s,
and you talk about 5 and 6 days.
Yes.
For folks who are new to the game, they might not remember. There was a year where
there was
some cancellations down in New York, and so when they came to Saratoga, they said we're gonna go 7 days a week and make up for those cancellations. And I think at the beginning everybody was, and by the end it was like, oh, this isn't a good idea.
No, 27 straight days, 1982. While I was at my freshman year at the University of Southern California, I was reading about the April and May snowstorms, baseball games being wiped out. So they ran 27 straight days, and it's 42 years ago, and I was 19 years old. My memory, I didn't care. They could have run 35 straight days. I wouldn't care. But I think you're right. People realize that. Yeah, now, one thing, Seth, that they talk about often here as I was looking at my PPs today. So the 11th race is 6:50. What about dinner? That's a big thing in this area.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big salvo for the first race.
I was the
I was shocked when I saw what time the last race
for
was.
A group yesterday and didn't notice until then that the final race time at
10:07.
Coming up on 7 o'clock.
Yeah, another thing is post time before my time was 2 o'clock, but it was 1:30. They ran the feature usually about 5:37. Then you got the dinner. But
should mention, and there's some consternation on Twitter, and I'm kind of in the same spot. So
you're pro the consternation or you're against the consternation?
I'm pro, I guess.
Okay.
Because it's consternation both ways, really. People
How often you get that?
People are complaining, and then other people are like, "Oh, okay, boomer," which is but the whole cashless thing. But I want to remind people, it's cashless up here now. So if you're for wagering, you can still use cash. But at all the concession stands and everything, it's cashless. Now, as I understand it, they will have kiosks where I think you can transfer cash for some kind of a cash card. But just keep that in mind. I think there's three of the food vendors are still taking cash. I think they're the ones out by the the Paddock Bar.
And
I
so
think
where do you
that's the-
fall on this?
Cash is cash. Everybody should take cash. I mean, I
Do you attend a lot of sporting venues?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Which people have said that's the
I'm
way.
like, what?
But to me, cash is cash. Take cash. I don't.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, the generational. Well, I guess, but I'm rooting for my generation because if less people were using credit cards, stuff will be cheaper because the vendor has to pay a credit card fee. So if everybody's using a credit card, we're all paying for that regardless. So yeah. But anyway, I didn't want to get into the debate because it is what it is. But I want to alert people that
you should be.
that's
I
the
mean,
situation.
it would be interesting marketing, like how many people are taken aback by the percentage? Because I'd be like,
Well,
that was a non-story to me.
When they announced it for the Belmont Stakes Week up here, they said last year there's some huge percentage of people use cards anyway. So
yes, like huge. So, any other?
Let me just hit on some of the promos coming up. The entries are open for the play of the day bankroll. Kevin Cox and Steve Bick again this year will have a play of the day. Usually it's during our show, and maybe it'll come in. But Mr. Bick had the play of the day today with the track condition. He's changing it up. So if it's not during the show, it'll come up maybe a little bit later on. But Bick will have the play of the day today. But the online entries are open. Go to capitalotv.com, click on the promotions link, look for this graphic that you see, and click on that, and you'll find an entry form. 50 folks will be randomly selected. Entries will close on Sunday, so make sure to jump in and have a little fun there. Today, if you aren't coming up here, you want to go to the Clubhouse Racebook, $100 Play the Board contest at the Racebook today, so you can stop down 711 Central Avenue in Albany and have a little extra fun this afternoon with the Play the Board. Coming up Friday down at the Clubhouse Racebook, it's the Players Bankroll. They'll randomly select a bankroll team. All of the players will be the ones making the wagers during the day, and then the winnings get split up amongst the team, and that happens on Friday at the Racebook. Saturday, there's a brand new contest. It sounds like a lot of fun. It's the King of the Hill contest down there, and it'll kind of be progressive throughout the day. And again, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a brand new contest. That'll happen Saturday at the Clubhouse Racebook. Saturday will also be the bounty bet. Keep that in mind. Typically, we do Fridays, but during the meet, we'll be doing Saturdays up here. And it's going to be the late pick 5. And so with an extended Saturday card, sometimes there's extra pick 5s, but it will be the late pick 5, the final pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday. So keep that in mind for the meet. And then Sundays through the meet, I'm going to have a $150 pick 3 bankroll to play on behalf of the team. It's going to be a new team every week. The entries will open up every Friday at noon on the website. That means tomorrow the first one will open up, so keep that in mind. And they'll close up Sunday morning. So lots of great stuff coming up promotion-wise during the meet here at Capital OTB. And do want to also alert you, top of the hour, as usual, Racing Across America will be joined by Kevin Cox. He'll be making some bi-weekly visits here, doing a little handicapping for us. He'll join us at the top. We'll also have Dave Grenick from the Daily Racing Forum. Dave and Mike Welch, tag team it in here usually. We'll see if we can get them to do it again this year. You get a lot of great info from those guys. So we'll have Dave Grenick and Tom Law will come in, and we'll probably have the special guys on Wednesdays, but I'll have Tom come in and talk a little bit about the Saratoga special and more with their schedule of publication and whatnot. So all of that coming up, top of the hour on Racing Across America.
There's 8 Sundays. What do you make the over-under on how many pick 3s you hit?
I don't know, because I have $150 and I don't have to do just one. So I can spread it around. So I'm gonna have to see the first Sunday and see how I feel like playing it.
I make it 2.5. I think you'll have. First off, you like to pick 3.
I do like to pick 3.
The 50-cent increment doesn't matter; it's somebody else's money, so you can, and they're letting you buy multiple tickets.
Yeah,
I make it 2.5.
Okay.
I think you want to get on board there. I think Mr. Seth will.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
And also, quick note. I mean, first off, I want to thank Naira, who's very gracious to us.
Yes.
Good
call.
Very there to work with people. People way, way, way above me have developed an outstanding relationship, which allows us to be
Yeah.
inside the ropes.
Yeah.
If you
I
like,
mean, they host us
you know,
and allow us to be
it's
here in front
pretty
of Clare
nice.
Court.
I mean,
And I'll also toss in, because I said I was handicapping for a group yesterday. I was at the Capital TV Board of Directors meeting, handicapping for the Board of Directors.
Thank them.
And heads up to them also, and President John Signor, because they support and have for
This program.
many years now these programs live from Saratoga. Which
I've always said this.
But yeah, thanks again to Naira for allowing us.
Even going back 30 years ago, how many people mentioned to me how much coverage horse racing receives? I mean, and it's because they've made decisions and investments, and Capital OTB's kind of always been ahead of all OTBs in what we're doing right here. So it's opening day, July 11th. I mean, we had an opening day, July 11th once, but I think this is the earliest. So this is the earliest we've ever had, right? I don't think we've had a July 10th. I think we're having that next year. But July 11th, another thing that's hard for us to imagine, it would usually be about August 1st. I'd still be at either Hyannisport or Newport waiting to figure it out. But it's the greatest sport in the world played outdoors, ladies and gentlemen. We have 11 races today. Ready to begin?
I am.
And Naira, obviously, likes to do this nowadays. We appreciate that. 9 furlongs, once around. The old Grand Dame, claimers in the opener.
Yeah, it's been a tradition for a while now. Certainly Tom Durkin and now Frank Miramati. They're off at Saratoga right in front of the stands.
I ever told you, I have to interrupt. What I'd like them to run is a starter allowance at 1.25 miles in the opener, because that would really get the grandstand involved. Push it back farther up the stretch, and that's what I've always wanted. I mean, starter allowance, you kind of get people in.
Everybody's involved.
Yes.
I went back and looked, because I always think that there's that kind of fun stat that lasts for about 30 minutes. So-and-so is the leading trainer when they win the opener. And so I went back and kind of looked, how formful is the opener in the last few years. Last year, Jose Ortiz won at 8-5, favorite of 6. It was an allowance at 1.1 miles. A couple of years back, a 20 claimer, 1.1 miles, Maker and Saez. It was the 4th choice. 3 years back, Robertino Diodoro and Irad Ortiz, they were the favorite in a field of 8. Going 1.1 miles. 2020, 14 claimers, 1.1 miles, Rice and Cardenas. And then 2019, a 14 claimer, 1 3/16. So
close.
they got back there. Gary
By the way,
Golo
that's the old Winter's Tale track record.
Yeah, that's right. Which lasted for
still there, right?
You're probably
still
right.
Here.
Yeah.
Because he beat Rivilero's track record, and that was set the race before the Travers in the 27 straight days. Jeffrey Fell, I think, had the mouth.
Oh, there's a blast from the past.
Yes.
So again, it was the favorite, 4th choice, favorite, second choice. So it tends to be kind of formful. I'm going off the rails in here.
Whoa! Right off the bat.
And I'm not going to talk too much about it.
Holy cow!
I have a 3, 5, 6, and 9. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's my dark horse play of the day, which I'll go in a little more depth in a few. But
dark horse play of the meat.
20.
I like it.
20 to 1 on the morning line, and I like this horse. So we'll see.
You're allowed, by the way. You're allowed.
We will see if I can get the meat off to a crazy start. Underneath, I have I Am the Law. I Am the Law and Accidental Hero. In the 2nd and 3rd spots, I Am the Law gets a class drop, as does Accidental Hero. Both are enough of a class drop that you're kind of, I don't know. But class-wise, if they're ready to roll, they're going to stack up nicely in here. So for me, again, I'll go a little more depth on the 3 in a couple of minutes, but I have a 3, 5, 6, and 9 in the opener.
This will be vague, but can you get a feel for how many times you've gotten the meat opener right? I think I'm at 2. And one of them was Wayne Lucas Wonders Delight, who paid about $280 in the days that I picked and bet horses like that. But I think I've only had one meat opener right in like 25 years.
I don't know.
I am not good. And a couple quick things. We put in our selections hours ahead of time. I was anticipating moisture in the racetrack, etc. The other thing that I like to mention is I generally tiptoe into the meet, especially nowadays. It's so long to get a feel for what's going on. If I get a feel at all, we did beat the meet last year, so we got that going for us. But I'm 5'8", and I have no idea how much moisture will be in the racetrack. If the weather keeps up like this, there'll be none. You got sunshine
breeze.
and breeze.
Yeah.
The perfect tonic. So
no, the flag across the street is
straight out. Yeah. So John Terranova, I think, will be the meet leader early. But as I said, Rocco Strong I have for second coming back. I tell you one thing, I had this happen a couple times, and see if you did. I looked down at the PPs and I saw Saratoga. I go, it's opening day. How can that be? I got no layoff lines. Ding, ding, ding. And then 5'8" in the opener.
Did I mention? I mentioned it someplace recently, but it might have been with you. Oh, you weren't in on Sunday, so I didn't mention.
Correct.
And
then you bumped me on Wednesday. So
why drive up for? But I was looking for historical.
I'm the guy.
Historical facts, and I'm going back through Equibase, and I'm going back. Saratoga meet, and I got to one however many years ago. And you probably remember the year, but I don't remember. But it was a while ago, and I clicked
1989.
I clicked on it, and
the electricity.
All the trainers have like one win, and I'm like, well, and then I realized it was a 1-day meet. It was the jump races on
Open house day.
Open house day.
Yeah. I always thought they had more than one, but okay. Yeah.
Well,
it was the Sunday
I think
before?
they did, but I stopped there.
Oh,
it was probably if I'd gone back a few years, it would have been more.
It's actually been a long time since they dropped open house. They had the fervor the first year. They didn't have it. But
I was on the radio yesterday with Bill Gallo from the National Steeplechase Association. He said the pandemic year, they were trying to get something going with the steeplechase runners, like a open house day over at Oklahoma. And he said, yeah, maybe we have to
Didn't they also have trial races?
Yeah, that's right.
Charlie Watts weights or something. Trial races.
Yeah.
Races were practice
which I like.
races.
They used to do that. Right. They used to require that down at the fairgrounds. Yeah. I kind of like that concept. All right, is it me?
It's you.
Second race today. Again, it was scheduled for the grass. We're off the grass today. We're looking at optional claimers, non-winners of 2 other than in race 2.
It will be shortened up to 10 furlongs on the dirt. And one thing I should note is this is, I don't know how many years, but it's the 3rd year I'm a major component. It's the Times Union versus Capital Off-Track Betting. We're on a winning streak here. I get Thursdays. So sometimes, not sometimes, all the time on Thursdays, I take a more conservative approach. Why? Because I like winning. I enjoy winning. But more importantly, I like to be a very strong teammate. So sometimes I play it close to the vest. So I was anticipating off the turf. So Amanda's Folly, which I think many people will find. Linda Rice, who made a tremendous closing kick last year to tie Chad Brown, sends out Amanda's Folly. That'll be my on top pick. And then I put you play the guessing of who's staying, who's going. Well, let's kick it off. I'm guessing the 2, the 1, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6. We could have a match race here, folks. I think this is going to be a very abbreviated field. And Seth, this is a race where I just think the MTOs, have it over a barrel. I'm not so sure how many of the main body are staying in.
I went 8, 9, 7.
Yeah.
I have the 2 MTOs, and between those, I went with the Linda Rice runner. But I'll tell you the 9. I think they're fairly comparable.
Yes, they are.
But I thought the 7, the recent form is all dirt, so I thought the 7 was a player.
Didn't we have that match race last year? And I had the winner that was the longer of the 2 prices, just dominated the race. I was like, because I could see the 9. I think they're very evenly matched. I don't think Amanda's Folly is the stick out, but I do think the MTOs are a stick out. And I don't think there's going to be too many of the main bodies sticking around.
Now it's you.
Yeah, time to enter. Yes. On to the 3rd, State Breds. Maiden Claimers in for 30, going 6.
4, 7, 3, and 10 for me. Miss Maximus on top. Norm Cassie trainee. Norm's done okay past couple of years. 7 for 24 up here, 29%. 4 of the winners, 4 of 16 were shippers. He's been 4 of 16 with shippers. but all of 4 of those winners were last year when he shipped in. And he shipped in from Fairgrounds and then 3 of them for Ellis. So he's done okay coming in from Kentucky. This one comes in most recently from Churchill. Before that, had started at Oaklawn. Showed a little punch at Churchill before fading, but I think maybe that bodes well for this afternoon. Off of that, kind of nice number with the shippers last year, and the class move, made special weight to maiden claiming. Going for glory in the second spot, Dave Donk, trainee, making the third start back, similar with Nate Jude. I think these are 2 similar scenarios. They're both making their third start back this season after a couple of okay starts, and okay, relatively speaking, to this bunch, but I think they may be primed in the third spot. So both the 7 and the 3 seem playable. I have it 4, 7, 3, and 10.
I took a flyer in this race. A first-time starter, Ray Handel, has lighted up the board with a debut maiden claimer. 8-1 on the morning line. I was suspecting some moisture in the racetrack. I'm guessing maybe that would be a good thing. I'm on the outside. I think this could be a shrewd move. I would think it's a low percentage that you're going to get picked off and claimed. And you're probably guessing softer competition. This could be a shrewd move with Dylan Davis. I have Miss Maximus underneath. I have, the race basically going through Norm Cassie's runner. And then Kelly Breen sends out the 3 with IRAT. 9, 4, and 3 for me.
And I'll give my dark horse play of the day now. I tipped my hand earlier. It's race number 1, horse number 3. I could have gone with – I have 2 or 3 prices today. I'll be interested to see how it all plays out.
This could supersede you putting Jonathan Shepard as your best bet in the TU about 5 years ago at about 80-1 and winning. So knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure the odds are going to hold up, though, because I think a lot of people are familiar with this angle. It seems like as I watch – listen, we're not going down a whole lot, but we'll see. We're 20-1 on the morning line. Dark horse play today, and again, thanks to our friends at the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga downtown for sponsoring again this year the Dark Horse play of the day. Number 3 in race number 1, Horse Be With You. Now, if you see the trouble line on the last race, and the last race is going to darken the form and help our odds, certainly, but it is legit. This horse was out and was right off the flank of the leader for much of the race. And then another horse kind of came up on the outside and things got squeezed and the horse just checked and was totally out of it after that. The races before that, though, are very good. And I think compete nicely with this group, particularly on a class move that I have for years liked quite a bit and has been productive for me over the years. State bred allowance into an open claimer. It's a productive move. And so we're getting that move essentially here, and you draw a line through that last race. I think this horse is absolutely legit in here. I'm going to be playing around with this one and see if I can get the meet off to a nice start and give myself a good little bankroll to play with as the meet progresses. So for me, the dark horse play of the day today, race number 1, horse number 3, Horse Be With You. And again, thanks to our friends, Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga, both on Broadway in Saratoga. And again, I recommend you're swinging by if you come up to Saratoga someday for the meet. You're downtown for dinner. They're usually open late, so check them out.
I'll tell you one thing. Obviously, we get so many new fans this time of year. But, boy, if you haven't experienced, playing the meet from ahead early is one of the greatest feelings. We'll be right back.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady. where the good times flow.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report, live from Saratoga on day one. There go the Jim Bond horses. I've already waved to Jim and the crew a couple of times. They just, when I came in this morning, they walked out of the trailer after printing up some stuff, waved over to Michael Dubb, who was driving by. Hopefully we'll have all of those folks involved sitting in with us some morning on Racing Across America. But it really is. It's fabulous being back. You know, Randy Moss from NBC came in one a few years ago, and Dennis said, you have the best set in all of horse racing television, and I can't really disagree with it.
It is.
We are,
Your turn.
yeah. Fourth race today at Saratoga, again, scheduled for the grass at 5.5. We're looking at optional claimers with a C condition, racing for $120,000. Again, this one's going to be on the dirt.
I think this race will change very much. Playing one of my favorite games, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 1A, the 6. I'm hesitant to think they're staying. I think the MTO, the 1 MTO, has this race in a very envious position, which is Buston Bay for Linda Rice. We're on the outside. I think this could be another abbreviated field of the first two off the turn.
Yeah, I'm 9-7, 1 and 5. Yeah. Buston Bay. It's they get the surface they want. Linda Rice may wind up having a nice little first day.
Do you think Buston Bay could be 1-2 in the race?
Well, it'll depend on how big the field size is, but yeah,
I think it's
kind of
very.
The 7 horse Shout Out the Lights has some okay off the turf races, so I think that one has to be considered for Wesley Ward. Has some early speed too, and may sneak away. And then in the third spot, the plain one, L Street Lady, who again has some dirt form that is okay. So for me in the fourth, 9, 7, 1, and 5.
On to the fifth race, State Bred's maiden special weights going 6.
4, 1, 3, and 8. I thought the 9 was also playable. If you're looking at Concord Spirit, I wouldn't talk you off of that one. But another price that I thought was a little bit interesting, Romantic Charmer. Now, it's a quirky combination of stats, but in a race like this, it was enough to pull me towards the Romantic Charmer. Trainer, last couple of years, going turf to dirt, route to sprint, 3 for 9, so 33%. 2 of those wins were off a 34-day break. This guy comes back having been on the sidelines for 32 days, so in a similar situation. So, again, I like the turf to dirt move to begin with. I like the cutback in distance, but looking at the trainer stats there, again, it's kind of quirky. We're stretching it a little bit, but there just wasn't anything else that really got my juices flowing. New York Scrappy's logical for Mark Cassie. Had a little trouble in the debut, and it was still an okay debut to build on. And again, probably the logical one to beat. Tomicon, kind of interesting. The Dam herself broke her maiden in her third career start at 28-1. And this one, had some nice improvements. Start 1 to start 2. First time gelding symbol. So I think there's some things to like there. In the fifth for me, 4, 1, 3, and 8.
I think it's a very intriguing race. I have multiple first time starters that I think could fire a race good enough to win vis-a-vis a buyer speed figure. I went to Bruce Levine's on the outside, 10-9-8. You're like kind of like the beacon of young stallions, everything. Both you are doing okay, yes?
Oh, yeah.
He's been kind of like reminds me of his prep race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I mean, sensational. Bruce Levine sends out DC's Boys on the outside, and that is my top pick. Inside of him, over 1, Concord Spirit. The debut was June 14th. Nice little practice run, and then Cole Bob for third in here, coming off of a big effort. The first-time starter for Bruce Levine, the other one, Brown Eyed Cat, looks very intriguing. I think a fun race.
And your horse scares me quite a bit. Pretty good at that bullet workout. And it's just, and Bruce Lemine does pretty good first time out of the box. I looked at that horse. I went back and forth, but
his other one is 9-2. So you figured David has something.
Yeah. Well, there is a little bit of breeding there, but that workout jumps out the page.
Yes, it does.
In the 6th, one of those restricted maiden special races, and if you're not familiar, it was a great condition put in 2 or 3 years ago.
Maybe more than that, but you're
more than 3 even. I would have said 3.
My guess would have been 3 or 4, and I would have been stronger on 4, but definitely more than 2.
I think that I would go definitely.
Very confident more than 2.
But it wasn't very long ago. But it was a great condition for folks unfamiliar. It's for horses with restricted to an auction price, sold for an auction price of such and such or lower. What is it, 50K? Yeah, 50,000. Because the 2-year-old races up here are tough. So you go out and buy a nice 2-year-old for $35,000. And in the old days, you enter up here and you might be in against, $1 million horses, $500,000 horses with blue-blooded pedigrees. So it's a nice condition to have added
and the
up
entry
here.
Box,
and yeah.
You might think that's a subjective opinion. I guess it is, but the entry box kind of makes it objective.
Yeah. It's 5.5 furlongs the trip.
Yes, and he's also eligible. I think the vast majority are coming back on Saturday in the main body. I love this race. Full field of 10, the maximum inside 11 and out are from number 11 out to 16 are the AEs. I'm 4-9. We touch base only with our third place horse. Episode making the 3rd career start, but first one on dirt. Gets my top pick. I like the first 2 starts, and I think the transformation onto dirt will be simple enough. For second, a first-time starter from Brad Cox will not be swayed. 7-2 on the morning line. I think it's one of those examples, Seth. We're picking the horse at 9:40 in the morning. If it comes out getting bet, you're really pushing a stone up a hill. And then Tekka for third, Linda Rice, 4-2-9.
And again, I said today I have some prices, and I'm perfectly happy with another price in here. 3, 5, 9, and 13. If the 13 gets in, but 3 deep on the AEs. If the 13 doesn't get in, take a look at the 1. But selectively sweet. I 20-1 on a Vekoma first-time starter. And again, we talked about sires a couple of times already this morning. Tuck Vekoma into your back pocket for the Saratoga meet. So far, the stats, and these were from when I handicapped a few days ago. It wouldn't surprise me if they're better now. 8 for 16 with first-time starters for Vekoma. Now, how will that hold up on the New York bred side of things? I don't know. But the dam produced a sibling called Saratoga Gyro or Hero that was a debut winner. So there's a little win early top and bottom. This horse worked 10.3 before the sale. Only attracted 25,000. So that was a little bit concerning. And I think by then there had been a couple of Vekoma winners. But I just couldn't bypass a Vekoma first-time starter at a price like that. So selectively sweet on top. Flaming Glory going out for Flame Away. Another sire I like quite a bit with win early types. And this one comes in off a couple of nice workouts down in Kentucky. And then Tekka for Linda Rice off a debut effort at Monmouth was okay for another barn. So you would have to think maybe a private purchase and moves into the barn of Linda Rice in New York. Again, off an effort that I think shows a little bit of talent. So for me, in the 6th, I have a 3, 5, 9, and 13.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, race 7 and the start of the late pick 5.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back. Race number 7, off the turf, as we are off the turf today. Remembering that race 2 is shortened up to 10 furlongs. State breds, optionals, 2X, 5.5 on the dirt now.
For the most part, I'm with the MTOs, 11, 13, 3, and 10. I'm going to put Spiteful Lily on top. Jim Bond trainee, the aforementioned Jim Bond, has run very well in the first 3 starts of the career, including how often have we ever said it? Will we ever again be able to say it? But a horse that already has a win up here at Saratoga, regardless of the fact that it's opening day. A win up here at Saratoga this year, regardless of the fact that it's opening day. This horse again.
Apparently, we might be able to say it again.
One more. Yeah.
Maybe a third one. Some rumors.
Yeah. But it was a good-looking win in the 3rd career start. So 2 for 3 with a close-up second. And again, they get the surface they want. Mosienko has been a productive runner throughout the career, certainly in the hunt. Very, very often comes off a claim, drops a little bit off the claim. It's not that much of a concern. And then I will put a horse in the main body of the field, Salib, who's my top pick on the turf. I think going to run okay on the dirt as well, as decent dirt form. So for me, 11, 13, 3, and 10.
I think we might have a better percentage of main body horses staying in. We have, and ironically, we have almost a handful of MTOs in this race, where other ones we have 1 or 2. And I'm with you. I think Mr. Bond has a nice spot. And Spiteful Lily, you don't see this every day, has never run on a fast racetrack. Has always had moisture in the racetrack. So that's probably good to go. But I agree. I like the 11 on top. And that'll be because one of the best things, if you come a lot, is today could be – there could be 3 – the 3 races off the turf early. The MTOs seem to – be very strong in these races, so that could be.
You brought in the old form.
Yes,
and we've talked about it before. Back in the old days, you had the mud mark, the X.
I could probably find it in there. Yeah. Superior, good, and.
But I've said a bunch of times, because you just mentioned the horse that's only run off. Why didn't they think like 50 years ago of doing what they do now and just telling what the wet track record is? You know, he's been on the wet track 5 times, a win, a second, no thirds. It seems like the way more obvious way to convey that information.
I think before the racing times, and almost any time you have a monopoly, you don't have to improve your product.
Innovate. Yeah, but just the beginning is like, who came up with the first concept? Oh, let's put an X in rather than let's just get the record on a wet track. That just seems like the obvious. It's not even that innovative. 8th race this afternoon, optional claimer, starter allowance. Again, this was scheduled for.
Why don't we have penny breakage? It seems pretty obvious in this day and age.
This was scheduled 8.5 on the grass, but again, no grass racing this afternoon.
5-7 dudes to be shortened up to a mile, by the way, since we had the shoot here and playing the guessing game. I don't know about the 1, the 2, the 4, the 5. I mean, I'm very suspicious. I must have gone off the rails here because I apologize. I left the MTOs out, and that puts me in a bad position in the Times Union. But I think the reason I did was I thought I did a bad job here. I don't think any of my picks are staying in. That was a bad job. I was on the ball the other races. To me, the MTOs are probably going to be – I'm thinking this is going to be about a 7-horse field, Seth, with 3 MTOs at least against a bunch of turf runners. Linda Rice going to have a great opening day?
Yeah.
I think so. I like Jess Music, the 11, and MTO. I think Linda's in a good position. I think Linda is the weather person of the day.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to do well with the surface switches, I would think. I have her underneath here, though. I went 12, 11, 7, and 14. I put Miss Fashionista on top for Todd Pletcher with the surface switch. I tilted that one slightly over Just Music. On talent, they're they're right in the same ballpark, certainly. And then the third spot, I did pull in a horse from the body of the field, Spring Magic, who, has some okay starts on the main track. It comes in from Southern California. Could be interesting if they stick in. In the eighth on the dirt, 12, 11, 7, and 14.
We'll take a quick break. Race number 9, which for many years it was, and they don't use this word anymore, but it was the triple. We call it the trifecta now. It kind of got pushed out because some tracks started using a daily triple, etc. So, but the 9th race,
that's right.
There was triple wagering in New York. But
I remember
we
the old
still
days.
have trifecta wagering race 9. But it's all. We won't go to a break. Set that's something to say. But it's also the start of the final pick 3.
Remember the days? I'm sure you
Probably
coming up to the track. I'm sure you had it as well. Where you're going to the track. Hey, play 3-5 in a double for me.
Yes.
And you would if somebody knew
Matter
you're going
fact,
to the track, they're handing you a couple bucks. Play my number in the double.
You wouldn't tell people you were going to the track.
Yeah, you would have all
have,
stuff.
oh my goodness,
okay,
the
what
mono.
are your numbers?
Oh, I'm telling.
But
the
now with
stories that
the rolling doubles.
The stories
it's
I could
not a
tell.
thing.
There were times. I've told the story before. I would come up with like $12, $14. And if I would bet the Quinella in race 2, which I probably haven't made a Quinella bet in 40 years. Yeah, probably 40 years. Hoping to win to pay the exchange to go in the clubhouse. We'll be right back with the final pick 3.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 9 on the dirt, going 9 furlongs. Optional claimer 3X.
I'm interested to see what you did with Blazing. Blazing Sevens to me, there's just some.
Listen, I already had my moment in the Champagne.
Okay, so you didn't put them in at all.
No.
I kind of drew a line through the Met Mile. I got a little ambitious there. I think getting back into this optional claiming level, I got Blazing Sevens. Getting back to a winning way that we saw in the seasonal debut. 7, 8, 9, and 6. There was some back class and back promise here. This is a horse that, last year ran 3rd in the Bluegrass, 2nd in the Preakness. And again, it's Chad Brown. Seasonal debut was a nice comeback. I think just they got ambitious last time. I'm going to look for the horse to rebound. Signator goes out for our friends at West Point. Shug McGahee trainee. Coming out of a 6th place in the Suburban, but I thought it was an okay price, solid number. I'll look for that one to be competitive in here. And Classic Catch in the 3rd spot. 1 start so far over the Saratoga surface. Now, it was an off the turf event, so take it for what it's worth. But it's 1 start over the Saratoga surface, 1 win with a triple-digit buyer. Could this be a budding horse for a course? We'll learn more about that today. But I have it 7, 8, 9, and 6.
I think in the Times Union, I think this because, as I said, I'm 3 days into the meet already before we run a race. I think Rocket Can is my best bet of the day. I think this is maybe the best race of the day you can sink your teeth into. I think it's about 6 deep. Good luck to the people playing the horizontals. I like Your thoughts? I mean, Blazing Sevens, I was kidding, but, you know, it was a price in the champagne, and it helped. Then I think this is a very realistic spot. He won the 2X, 2 races back. It's good. But Rocky Can, to me, for Bill Mott, only the second start of the year. I think, you know, good things. This is a deep race, but I'm expecting a big-time performance from Rocky Can. I have Film Star underneath making the seasonal debut. And then Classic Catch, as you mentioned, just getting beat at what I consider this level most recently, 639, because I think, if my math is right, Laughing Boy, who's part of an entry, is the only one in for the tag. So it's really a 3X with the capital C language.
10th race featured Schuylerville, $175,000 up for grabs for the 2-year-old fillies, 3/4 of a mile.
And I think Becky's Joker, first-time starter last year, paid in the 40s. And I think this is the 40th anniversary of Weekend Surprise, who became an incredible broodmare. I think she paid not quite $50, but I think in my lifetime, Weekend Surprise is the biggest price in the Schuylerville. You know, I just want a thought. You know, are you big on your top pick? Like,
I do kind of like my top pick.
That's
and I'm going with the 7-2 lukewarm favorite.
Yeah, you could get that.
But I thought
I'll tell you,
it's in these kind of races. It's hard to beat two because they're all coming off of decent.
I'm a big regression off of the first race type.
Well, with the
thing.
77 buyer, I thought.
Well, what happens if he goes back into the 70? I mean, I can't tell you how. I'm 931 and long neck Paula to me. Wesley Ward, offspring of Uncle Mo, debuted on May 2nd. Plenty of time to come back off of the good race. That's my top pick in here. I have Mark Cassidy's number 3, my second pick, another Churchill Downs winner. And then from the rail at 616, Steve Asmussen sends out the recent runner-up in the Astoria. I think this is a like 8 deep race. I am 931 in what I think is a fun Schuylerville.
We have Steve Asmussen in here, and we have Todd Pletcher in here, and we have Wesley Ward, and there are some at Saratoga, very prominent 2-year-old trainers, obviously year in and year out. But I looked up the last few years in this particular race. Gary Contessa, as you say, won last year. Eddie Keneally, Norm Cassie, Tim Ham, Doug O'Neill over the past few years. Not names you're normally associating necessarily with the 2-year-olds up here at Saratoga, but that's how it worked out. I have Danny Gargan on top with Complexion. It was a great-looking debut. The dam is 3 for 4 with first-time starters, and that includes the sibling Jack Christopher. Jack Christopher, followed things up very nicely. I think this one, to me, does stand out slightly, but it is a race where they've all done well. Carmen's Candy Jar, Mike Rapoli named this one for Carmen Barrera, the late NYRA employee who was said to have had a candy jar on her desk. But, if you name horses for people like this, you expect they'll be okay. And this one was in the debut. And Vigidal, a Vacoma first-time starter, one of those winners first out for the sire, and did it okay for Steve Asmussen down at Churchill. I think that one's a player too. 5, 6, 10, and 3.
I was trying to look it up. It's ungraded. Is this the first time?
Oh, I don't know.
And I will say, I think that's very appropriate. It's a great betting race, but I think it's ungraded for the first time. And wrapping it up at approximately 6:49, a mile now on the dirt.
3, 15, 16, and 11. And for folks who are looking at my picks in the Times Union, the 3 is not going to be on top. The 3 is not going to be mentioned because, again, we only get those certain selections that, as you have alluded, you put the main track only on top in these situations. And if it stays on the turf, that one's going to. So the 15 is going to be on top. But I have the 3 on top because it's in the body. And if it stayed on the turf, I didn't want that one on top. It's convoluted, but you're trying to read the crystal ball a little bit. But I put Vincita on top on the dirt. I think this one might have a little edge if they decide to stick in Holton and Always Be Smart. the MTOs that look logical. 3, 15, 16.
I have the 15 on top. I will say I don't have it in the mix, but the 11 Multiplata I think is, and I enjoy it because, as I've said many times before, I mean, the changes are going to come, but I'm thinking they're staying in. That's one of the main bodies. I think they might have gotten the race they preferred.
Yeah.
And on a different day, we'll explain that some more. That's it. Your turn. You want to tell them what racing America?
Yeah, top of the hour, just a couple of minutes. He's in the green room. The Brooklyn Cowboy, Kevin Cox, will join us. We'll do a little handicapping. Dave Grenig will jump on board as well a little bit later on. And Tom Law, that is all today on Racing Across America.
It's opening day, ladies and gentlemen. The weather is perfect right now. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
This has been the Handicappers Report, brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.